Manchester United 3, Aston Villa 1. Champions League football secured for next season. This was a game that United looked ineffective and barren in the first half, but looked like a much more better and composed team in the second half. And I think the difference between the first half and the second half was Bruno Fernandes getting involved in the play. This is what I mean. First, look at what Aston Villa tried to do to stifle United in the first half. Of course, if you've ever watched any Manchester United analysis, you should be very familiar with this 3-2 build-up structure from Manchester United, with Menu and Casemiro basically operating as the double pivot for United. But what Aston Villa did in this case, though, and which is something that they are very effective at doing in the Premier League so far this season, is creating a 4-4-2 very compact midfield. The 4-4-2 is such that the players are not usually in a straight line. What this helped them to do was to make sure that United could not have any headway through the middle of the pitch. And of course, United only had two players in the middle of that pitch, because at this time, in the first half, Bruno Fernandes mostly stayed higher and wide. We will see that in a minute. But something that United tried to do to limit that compactness, though, sometimes was to drop Ahmad into that midfield. Sometimes Ahmad goes to create that overload in midfield, or you have Diogo Dalot going into that space. But it didn't matter much, because most of the time, Emi Buendia here was picking up anybody who came to create that overload. And then on the far side of the pitch as well, you had Onana staying on Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes started this game very high during United's build-up. He wasn't really getting involved in the play very much. Look at another example. This is just roughly another United's build-up, and what I just want you to keep an eye on here is just that compactness in midfield from Aston Villa, making sure that United can't get through this middle. If you notice, look at Dalot on this occasion is the one who has pushed up into that midfield to try to even that midfield out. But if you notice, Buendia has spotted him and immediately he's running to close him down. If you look up on the pitch again, that is Onana on Bruno Fernandes as well. So United could not really get any creativity through the middle of the pitch. Majority of United's creativity in this game came down the right-hand side. That axis where you had Ahmad, Leny Yoro, and Diogo Dalot. The combination of those three people. I think Yoro had a decent game defensively, but none of these three players on this occasion offer the same output that you would have with Bruno Fernandes. And then if you look up again, during this build-up, Bruno Fernandes is already making his way into the box alongside Bryan Mbeumo. So in that first half, Bruno Fernandes was playing higher up the pitch, waiting for the ball to come to him to create problems in that final third. But most of the passes, most of the final ball, either did not come or were not very accurate. United did create a few chances in the first half, but it wasn't really effective. Again, just look at United trying to move the ball forward, trying to progress the ball from the back already. And is that Aziz again, with Yoro, Ahmad, and Dalot. This is where most of the things were happening for United. And if I just take this further, you would almost notice where Bruno Fernandes is on this occasion. He's very high, he's very wide, he's up the pitch. And I think, creative-wise, United were not really breaking down Aston Villa in the first half. Villa, on the other hand, we were waiting for transitions. There were lots of long balls and all that. I'm not going to go into Aston Villa's tactics in this analysis, but it changed in the second half. I think the more positive change in the second half now was Bruno Fernandes now getting more central, staying central and trying to get involved in the build-up, trying to pick up the ball from deep. And then this is still the double pivot of Casemiro that United have been using. But the only difference is Bruno Fernandes now joining the play. And then, again, this is one frame forward again from the same clip that you can see Bruno Fernandes here picking up the ball a bit more centrally. This is where Bruno Fernandes really affects the game. And I think with this move, though, even if the ball still went out wide to Ahmad, Bruno Fernandes is still there to pick up the ball. And then he could exchange passes with Ahmad here and actually took a shot that went off. But look at the phase of play that led to the corner kick that United scored from. Once Aston Villa lost possession high in United's half, of course, the ball forced to no other person but Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes is absolutely the best player you want to pick up the ball in this situation. Of course, he drives forward with the ball, picks out Mbeumo's run with a nice pass, and then Mbeumo calmly did the rest. It was from this corner kick that United eventually got the first goal. I think the only major change after United got that goal was that Aston Villa became way more aggressive off the ball once they considered that first goal. In fact, instead of sitting off from United the way we've been seeing before, they became more aggressive. They tried to press, tried to go 1v1 and press high up the pitch against United. This is what this phase of play just captures, with Aston Villa trying to squeeze United, trying to go a bit more direct. And I think it worked for them because they eventually squeezed United into getting a goal out of them. But Eventually, Cunha's goal was basically the same thing that happened that led to the corner kick for the first goal. Was Villa committing players forward, losing the ball high up the pitch, and then Bruno Fernandes being able to pick up the ball in an attacking position and turn. Look at that Cunha's goal again. And look at the role of Bruno Fernandes in that goal. Of course, he is not the one who won possession on this occasion. But it's another Villa attack, just as it happened. Once Euro cuts off this pass here, and then Casemiro picks up the ball, Bruno Fernandes takes himself away from that defensive line, comes backward a little bit to receive the ball. He did not even think about it. He did not touch the ball. He did not think about it. As soon as the ball came to his feet, he has seen the run of Cunha already. It was just a gentle touch, a perfectly weighted pass. See, Bruno Fernandes, I've made a video before when I said that we should start discussing Bruno Fernandes in the same sentence and in the same conversation as the likes of Kevin De Bruyne as one of the best midfielders to ever grace the Premier League. This is a pass that he didn't control the ball. He didn't stop it. He just lays it on. To know how perfect this pass is, right? Cunha did not have to control the ball. He did not have to change direction at all. He just needed to take just one touch and bam, that's it. Most players will either overhit that pass, meaning that Cunha cannot face the goal after touching the ball, that he has to go and start looking for a cross, or they will underhit it such that Cunha will have to come back to come and control the ball and face the defender again. But that pass, this is what we used to praise Kevin De Bruyne for. So I mean, Bruno Fernandes, we'll talk about him in another video. But I think after this, United were firmly in control of this game. And then, of course, Benjamin Sesko came from the bench and made it 3-1. Brilliant performance in the second half. United won. I'm not going to do any criticism in this video. I actually have 2 or 3 other clips where I felt that United's pressing went wrong in this game. But 3-1, it's a good result. It's a good win. And it has probably secured Champions League qualification for Manchester United. So let's not do any negativity or any criticism in this video. Congratulations to Manchester United fans. When I carry Champions League go, again, this is what I do on this channel, tactical analysis. If I say anything that you disagree with in this game, leave it in the comment section. Let's have that conversation. And Bruno Fernandes, is he now one of the best midfielders the Premier League has ever seen? That is an argument for another day. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you on the next one.